CBRE is in the business of real estate services. So we recognize that there are so many issues that are right at the nexus that have to do with climate and with resource constraint and waste and all of the rest, emissions that occur at commercial real estate. So for us, we have been working for a number of years trying to evaluate how we can have our clients move their buildings toward a more sustainable future. We've done a lot of research on this, and what our research finds is that actually green buildings are economically better buildings. We've done specific research to see if they lease better, if they have lower occupancy costs, if they have higher occupancies, and what we have found consistently is that green buildings actually perform better. So from our perspective, we think that by making your building better for climate, you also make it better for the economy. What we have found is that there, particularly in the European market, I think in many of the countries there and many of the business units in the European market are advanced. They have done some things sooner than the American market has. And because we are a global company, we are able to learn from the actions that we're doing in the UK, for instance, or particularly in the Netherlands, and bringing them to the United States for green building practices. One of the things that we were very early on was to get our buildings that we manage either ENERGY STAR certified or labeled. We now have hundreds of our buildings, but then the next one was around the United States Green Building Council and their LEED certification. So we created a group that does LEED EB for existing building certification about 7 years ago or 8 years ago, and we now have certified more than 450 buildings for LEED EB, which is more than 10% of the world total. So we have really tried to practice at a training level, at an energy efficiency level with ENERGY STAR, and then at a more sophisticated level with LEED certification to get more and more of our clients' buildings certified. There are differences in the way we approach. In some markets like the UK, there's really a need to really elevate all buildings, it seems, because of the standards and the reporting standards. In the United States, there are different cities and different kinds of city requirements, and so some of our clients meet the requirements of their cities. But what we've also found in our studies, that in the larger US cities in particular, it is now almost impossible to not practice green building practices for a large building, or you'll be left behind. The studies that we have done more recently and just submitted, in fact, with a Dutch researcher from Maastricht University, Dr. Niels Koch, the work that we did on looking at the adoption of green building principles in the US. In some US markets, the largest US markets like Chicago or San Francisco or even Minneapolis, more than 70% of the square footage of those markets is now technically green. So if you are not green in those markets, you will be left behind. We are very appreciative of the work that the Climate Group does broadly, but we're also specifically pleased with the work that the Climate Group does trying to find business solutions. Because we understand, first of all, we are a business and we're global, and we understand, in our view, that most of the solutions are going to be coming from companies in a marketplace environment will get more traction. And so we really enjoy our relationship with the Climate Group because they are giving us ideas of how to be better and how to speak to our various shareholders about the business attributes of this whole issue.